So we're glad to share with you the subject called Unicorn or Dragon, how to tap into Chinese market for growth. So for many of you, we understand you're from either a small, medium corporation or from startup or scale up companies. This is exactly what we're trying to address to you. So many of you perhaps ask this question, why bother to consider China? So I would actually reverse this question by asking, why not China? So many startups, when they are considering international expansion, they first consider going to America instead of China. So when they go into America, they have clear advantages, but also American market offer very clear disadvantage. As an entrepreneur, I always say, being an entrepreneur means that you do things differently, you think differently. If everybody go to Silicon Valley, you should not just purely follow them. You're an entrepreneur. You need to decide and make judgment of where you go and what you do. So that is differentiation factor for all the entrepreneurs worldwide. So why China? Now, there are three reasons why the startups and scale ups should consider going to China. The first is technology. China has very strong interest and desire for Western innovative technologies. And this is evidenced by a lot of acquisition and investment the Chinese firm has to the European companies and worldwide as well. Unfortunately, last year, under the Donald Trump's leadership of America, they decided to stop China from buying from American technologies. So as a result, we see a very drastic change in the investment direction from Chinese going to America to invest, rather now they go to Europe. Now here, I still consider UK as part of Europe. Now, Chinese are coming to Europe to invest in a lot of technologies because China need a lot of technology, and China is very much behind on the technology development. Why China is so behind in terms of technology development? Because China traditionally are very good. Perhaps you have heard this word called China like to, sort of copy. Even China was labeled as copycat because China had been behind because China closed the door for more than 200 years. And as a result, Chinese economy declined in the past 200 years. But in 1820, China was the largest economy of the world, take up 33% of the total global GDP. China was a superpower in terms of technology 200 years ago. But after China closed the door, the Western countries started to develop the technologies. Now they're far advanced than China. That's why China feels it's behind. They need to catch up. The best way to catch up is to buy technologies, to invest in the technologies. So as a Western startup and scale up, you have a unique opportunity in front of the Chinese investor because they want you. They need technologies, and Chinese market need technologies. So second, China has a lot of people, a lot of consumer has a rising income. Now, Chinese GDP last year was about 10,000 US dollars. This is 1/6 of the American figure. But nevertheless, China went a long way. China is now having a huge middle class population. And by 2026, China would add another about half, billion, people into the middle income level. Half of them are lower middle income, half of them are upper middle income level. So we see a rising income in China that offers great opportunity for the Western startups to enter China because you have a huge consumer base and those people are getting significant income in China. So that is very important. We see a rising income in China. And third, we see China has a lot of risk-taking investors. China has a great amount of powerful and risk-taking investors. Those investors are willing to invest in a lot of projects. Now, in the past, China had been quite, a lot of new rich, what we call new rich, because they made money easy. When they made money easy, guess what? They spend money easy. They invest with much risk behind it. So that's what we see in China. Very interesting, a lot of risk takers. And we can see China also have a lot of unicorns. Now here we are, we see a lot of big unicorns like Ant Financial and Xiaomi and Didi. Those are super unicorn with more than 50 billion US dollar valuation. Then underneath of it, we see a lot of like DJI, we see AliCloud, we see Lufax, we see Meituan, a lot of, between 10 to 50 billion US dollar unicorn. And then we have much more underneath of it, including Zhihu, which is one of the online educational platform. We see Xiaohongshu, we see many others here. So China is a place to create unicorn. Now, for many companies, you perhaps say that I mean, to be a unicorn is a desire, but how about be half unicorn? How about have a valuation of 100 million US dollars? So China have even more of that. So China is now leading the world in terms of total amount of the unicorn. And we will see here in China, top 10, 12 industries for unicorn. Now in China, well, I don't call them unicorn. I call them, okay, can anyone hear me? Because I see some problem. Okay, in China, we see that in Chinese, it's not just unicorn, it's a dragon. That's why I call this unicorn versus dragon. You go to America, you became a unicorn. You go to China, became a dragon. Chinese is a nation of dragon, and except that the dragon is much bigger in its size than the unicorn. So I would argue, you go to China, you have fair chance to become Chinese unicorn, which is dragon. Now here we are. We see the top 12 industry for unicorn. Number one is new energy, and number two is AI. Number three is cloud service and health, fintech, blockchain, online education, tourism, social media, clean tech, new retail, and logistics. Let me give you a very quick elaboration. So China is a very big consumption, country for energies. So China has a lot of manufacturing facility and have a lot of population. China has about 1.39 billion population. So with that, China need a lot of energy. So China has a lot of desire to innovate and to create a new energy solutions to satisfy the enormous need of the energy in this country. So for that reason, China needs a lot of help from the rest part of the world. Even though maybe the energy is not a major issue in your country, but China definitely need it. So for that reasons, new energy come to a very interesting play. So for instance, using satellite to generate power from the space and transmit to the Earth is one of the direction China is taking as well. There's many other, for instance, storage of energy. Energy storage it's became very interesting. China will soon, became 15 times larger than European Union in terms of electric car. That is enormous. China already passed European Union in terms of total number of the electric car. So China now is the world's largest, market for the electric car. And in about 2025, China will be 15 times of European Union in terms of total electric car. So we see a lot of company in China in a raising speed to develop, not just the electric car, but also self-driving car as well. So we see China is doing really well in those areas, but China need a lot of help from the rest part of the world. AI technology, China lead the world in terms of AI investment, take up about 50% of the total global AI investment. This is very big, very significant. And cloud services, China has Ali Cloud, Baidu Cloud, Tencent Cloud. We have a lot of cloud services in China because the world is moving to the cloud. So again, need a lot of services. I met some of the great startups from the Western world. They're doing very interesting things in cloud services, and this could be very much needed by the leading companies in China. Health, China is a very big in health industry. However, China is relatively poor in its technologies in this industry. So, for instance, China spent about 5% per person in healthcare versus America. So that means China has 20 times space to grow in its health industry. And fintech, China is very big on the fintech. Chinese consumer are perfectly fine of living a life without cash. So when Europe is still using the touchless, credit card, China is already using the mobile payment. And mobile payment is everywhere. You pay with everything. Even the beggars on the street will be using the QR code, using Alipay, WeChat Pay. You scan QR code. You don't need to touch the money, and you can donate to someone who are homeless. Blockchain had been a big phenomenon last year, and it continued to lead the wave in China because blockchain solved one problem, which is a trust issue. China desperately needs that because Chinese culture has one issue, very difficult to trust people, trust strangers. So blockchain is decentralized ledger distribution, so recording system. So that had been very much needed in China. So China also has more patents, filed more patents in the blockchain than any other country in the world. And some of the Chinese government, led by the central bank, file most patents than any other company in the world. Online education is very big in China. Chinese are very big on education. Chinese want their children to be better, and so they spend any money they could to their children's education. Anything you can improve their grade, their ability, would be of great need there. I know some of the companies, particularly from Finland, are working very hard on this industry, and we're helping some of them to enter into Chinese market. One of the large Chinese company, unicorn company called VIP Kid, who is actually the founder, Cindy, was one of our students at our Cheung Kong Graduate School of Business. And she is a huge unicorn in China and worldwide as well. She's leading on the online education worldwide for that. But they need much more than just the VIP Kid. This space is huge, enormous, need great innovative technologies to find the solutions to cater online education. Tourism. Chinese tourists are everywhere in the world. If you go to China, you see flood of the tourism. And if you go over the world, you go to Europe, everywhere you see a lot of Chinese tourism. On average, Chinese tourists spend 5,000 euro per person per trip in Europe. So that is astonishing. They have enormous purchasing power. So we've been helping one of the startups to enter this field, and they've been doing successful. They've been connected with the WeChat Pay in China through Tencent, which we introduced. Social media. Social media is one of the very interesting area. Chinese are very big on this area. There are a few dominating factors here, but still they have a lot of new entrants and a lot of people enter into this space. And very interesting. On average, Chinese spend about 4.2 hours per day online. So that is enormous. So now social media act not just as a way to communicate, but also as a way to do the marketing. So a lot of company, including the car company, I was recently in the Shanghai Auto Show. So even Mercedes, even BMW, and Jaguar Land Rover, what do they use the social media as a marketing tool there? Clean tech. Clean tech is a very big thing. And China, as you know, has a big issues in terms of environmental, problems. And with the enormous manufacturing, China is take up all the environmental problems from the rest of the world. So it's a little bit unfair for China to fight alone. So China welcome a lot of people from outside of the China to help on the clean tech area. There are three areas to emphasize. One is deal with the waste water, and second is to deal with physical, matters. actually physical matters, a solid waste, if I may say. And then third is air pollution. Air pollution is number one. Number two is water. Number three is the solid waste. So China need a lot of technology. For instance, in Sweden, there is a company who can process the garbages so efficiently that they not just process the entire Stockholm garbages, but they also import garbages from China, from Singapore, from other countries. So technology like that would have a huge need in China. A British company who are dealing with agricultural waste was very successful in China. They turned into those crop steams into the building materials. So things like that is of great interest. O2O plus O plus O. This is a new retail. Consumer doesn't care where they buy stuff. They don't care. They want the best product. They want the most efficient way to get it. They want the cheapest way to get it. So, and most convenient way to get it. So for that, China now is focusing on a total solution from retail. So that's why we call new retail. It's combination of both online and offline together. So in the past, you do either online or offline, but in the future, and now in China, is combining them perfectly together to provide a total new experience to the consumer in terms of retail. So that's why we call new retail. So for instance, there is a store through Alibaba called the Hema Xiansheng. I recently met their founder and CEO, and they are enormously successful in doing that. So through that relationship, we understood it's very important. You can eat in the store, the seafood, and you can buy in the store. And then when you're at home, you can use the app to order from the store. They promise to deliver to you within 30 minutes. They cover the entire city for 30-minute promise. So that is enormous. That is very big. Now consumer can buy stuff either online or offline, depending on where they are, how convenient it is. If you're in the store, you may just want to take it from the store. If you're at home, you may just take it, ask them to deliver to you. So this is called a new retail concept, logistics. Chinese success, particularly the success of e-commerce, cannot ignore the contribution of the logistics. China has a very highly integrated logistics system with high-speed train, with a highway system, and with a lot of delivery carries. So China is very successful in doing that. Chinese leader understood one thing: in order to boost the economy, you need to have a very good logistics system. So JD.com, the fastest time they ever achieved to deliver a package from the time the consumer ordered to the time consumer received was only, listen, only 7 minutes. That is astonishing. They do the anticipatory, shipment, order, so that consumer, they can understand we're using big data, where consumer is, and then go from there. So if we summarize a little bit, now I want to say that Israel is very good at doing from 0 to 1, and Europe is very good from 0 to 10. Now, why Israel 0 to 1? Because Israel doesn't have a market, literally. Europe has a market, but not very big. Each country is relatively small. France is big, but it's relative to China. America is relatively small. A majority of European countries only have a population of 5 million, 10 million, 20 million. If you're getting more than 20 million population, you're a big country in Europe. But imagine Shanghai alone is 30 million population. Beijing is 30 million population. So compared to China, it's a relatively small potato here. So US is very good from 0 to 100. US can innovate, and they can also commercialize to its full scale. But what China is good at is from 10 to 150. Why 150? Because Chinese market is much bigger, it's growing. And so China is not very good from 0 to 10, but China is good to take on from 10 to 150. That's why you see a huge power here to combine European product, European technology, European talent with Chinese market and Chinese capital. It will do miracles here. So this is why I'm so passionate about this whole concept of bringing startups, scale ups to China. So I'll explain to you that we have a program later on that's really helping the companies to grow from 10 to 150. Could you flip my slides to the next one? Because on my end, it doesn't work. Page 9, please. Page 9. Page 9. Hello? Yeah. Okay. So there are 4 steps to achieve miraculous growth in China. Number 1 is in-depth understanding of Chinese consumer. You go to any market, you got to understand the consumer. Could you go back? Could you go back to number 9, page 9? Please go back to page 9. In any market, it's very important that you understand the consumer. You spend time to really understand how they behave, how they function. Chinese consumer is a little bit different from the other consumers. So it's important for you to really understand how they function, how they do things. And here we see that the Chinese mobile internet users are more than Europe total population in 2018. And China has 784,000. Europe has 742. Could the moderator shift this for me, because I cannot move the slides. Hello, organizer, please. Yeah, Chinese have vast consumers. The millennials, are leading the consumer space here. So Chinese millennials are very powerful. They have a lot of purchasing power. They make decisions more spontaneous and than ever. Could the organizer do something here, because it's not moving on my side? Hello. Yeah, Chinese consumer very powerful. They are luxury shoppers. They're very young, very sophisticated. They are using social media and e-commerce in a very powerful way. Is the organizer here? So I have a little bit problem.
Maybe you can just let me know.
Slide number 9. Number 9
for you.
Yeah. Number 9. Go back. Yeah. Hello, I don't see any movement. Please change to slide number 9.
Yeah, it's moving. Yeah.
But I don't see on my screen.
Yeah, so it's 4 steps to achieve growth. There's a lot.
Yeah, this lap is a little bit too much lap. Okay, so we're getting a little bit. So yeah, 80% of the Chinese internet users are, perfectly fine and living a life without cash. So that's what I was trying to say. 9. 4 steps to achieve miraculous growth. Number 10. Slides number 10, please. Slides number 10. Slide number 10. Yeah. So it's many people find it difficult to enter Chinese market. They say language, culture, regulation, politics, and business system. I would say you go to China for 3 months, you will not say this anymore. Next one, please. Next slide. Number 10. Number 11. So 4 steps to achieve miraculous growth. Number 1, I already explained. Number 2, establish a local team. You hire Chinese talent. The STEM workers in China represent 50% of the total global STEM workers. They have very strong execution capability. They understand the local knowledge. They work very hard. So this is important for you to hire local team, use the local team. Many companies go to China, make mistake. They find a partner, but they find out the partner doesn't work. So you need to establish your own local team. Let them work. Challenge them, give them incentive to do that. Step 3, develop a right channel strategy using leveraging each channel, and also distributor model. You can use different models, either e-commerce or distributor model or franchise model or traditional online model. And step 4, create effective marketing strategies. So the marketing could be a different way of marketing, for that. Next slide. Let's go to the slide number 15. Number 15. China has, vast consumers. Millennials represent a generation between 18 to 35. They're the largest consumer group. And also middle class. A lot of Chinese middle class became very important for you to grow, to consider. Okay, next one. Next slide, 16. Summary. China has a booming middle class reshaping consumption. Emerging Chinese luxury shoppers. They're young, sophisticated, knowledgeable, and millennials and the Generation Z. Increasing powerful role of social media and e-commerce. Next one, please. And I want to go to slide number 18. So high Chinese talent, STEM workers. The end of the 21st century, second decade, is a remarkably inauspicious moment for U.S. to serving the ties with scientists, technologists, engineers, and mathematicians. This is what we call STEMs. And China represents 1/4 of the world's STEM workers. And they're 8 times larger than US and growing 6 times faster than US. So China has a lot of talent. They're working very hard for that. Next slides, please. And also, they have very strong execution capability. The Chinese style can be very efficient in carrying out critical mission and get quick results. And the direction is set up at the top, and the role of the employee is simply to execute. You as an employer, as a Western company, you have much more power there, and you have a huge execution power over there. This saves time in negotiation and in brainstorming for that. And next one, understanding local knowledge. Reason that foreign company failed, they failed to localize, and China is a relationship oriented, or we use the word guanxi. So you need to understand the minority and its culture and the regional cultural difference within China, the meeting etiquette and the use of the interpreter and bargaining culture. So there's a lot of local knowledges here. So you need to understand. And the STEM workers can perfectly help you for that. Next one. They are working very hard. On average, if you can see here on this chart on the page 21st, that on average, the annual hours here, the Chinese work 2,100 hours, and the US here working 1,780. On average weekly hours, Chinese work 46 hours, and the US 34 hours. So you can see Chinese are working extremely hard to achieve the miracles here. Now, if we may move to the next one, developing the right channel strategy. There are different channel strategies you can consider and to develop for that. So first, next one, please. So here you have 3 major ones. One is e-commerce, and second is exporting model, and finally investment model here. So if I may go through this one by one with you. Next one, please. So we go to the e-commerce here. E-commerce here, you can be sitting at home in your own country. Let's say you're in London. So you can use a cross-border e-commerce, for instance, Farfetch. Or you can go to China and establish the e-commerce channel there as well. So go to next slides, please. So by 2020, over 2 billion e-shoppers, or 60% of the target global population, would be transacting 13.5% of their overall retail consumption online, equivalent to a market value of $3.4 trillion US. So Chinese cross-border e-commerce is worth over 60 billion US dollar right now. Next one. And 80% of the luxury sales were digitally influenced. And high-end spending online is expected to move more than triple to 74 billion or 87 billion, US dollar by 2025. Next one, please. So you can see that, for instance, one of the British company called Farfetch is the innovative online fashion website. They partner with over 400 famous boutiques, provide a large number of luxury items from more than 100 world best brands that over 1,000 designers found in 38 countries, provides free global returns within 14 days from receiving an order. And they got attention by JD.com. So JD.com invests, I think, roughly about 20% of the company. So you can see this kind of cross-border, you can sell your stuff through this website at home. So that is very beautiful here. Next one, please. And there is also the domestic e-commerce, which you can use the Chinese domestic e-commerce channel to sell. Next one, please. So in 2017, Chinese B2C e-commerce market share, and you can see Tmall here represents 52.7%, JD.com represents 32.5%, and also you have VIP Shop, Suning, which is the electronics store. So you can see here a huge, and those stores, those platforms have something called Tmall Global, for instance, and JD International. They deal with international customers like you. You can sell directly through their platform at home, and then you can ship product to their warehouse. They will sell for you. So next one, please. Tmall Global has introduced nearly 19,000 overseas brands from 75 countries to Chinese consumers. More than 80% of them were newcomers to the Chinese market. So that means that Tmall Global is one of the platforms for all the new brands who want to go to China. That became one of their top destinations for that. So they are able to help those, majority of the company who want to establish in China, instead of going to China, find a distributor, going to China, set up your own operation. You can start sales through the Tmall Global for that. And next one, please. The JD.com run the same thing. They're the second largest e-commerce site of a relatively simple way for international merchants to sell into the Chinese market. They operate two separate models, a reseller model, a platform or market space model. The resale model is more like, okay, they got the brand and then they sell on their store. It's like Amazon Direct. But the market space place model is more like you have your own store there and you can sell there. So they have active user of 18 million, which is enormous. And annual fee is not very expensive. It's about $1,000 there. Next one, please. So these are two e-commerce solutions. And we have also export model here. So for instance, first, direct selling, exporting. Let's go to the next one, please. So direct selling, the direct export refers to the shipment of goods, provision of service, cross-border transfer technology from one place, one country to the other country through the seas. So you can directly export. It's like a trade. You find some Chinese wholesaler, they want to buy from you. They're going to deal with the rest. You just need to sell to them. You have small margin, but you don't have much risk. You don't have much investment either. So that's a very good model if you are running a small budget there. Next one, please. You can also do overseas agents, distributor. You can find a distributor. Next one, please. The distributor model is an indirect export agent. The company's direct sort of the representative and help to represent and sell your product. An agent works more closely with you wherever a distributor works more closely with your consumer. In China, you cannot hire an agent as an employee from overseas, but can enter into the service contract this way. Next one, franchise model. This is a very interesting model. You can set up with your franchise network in China. For instance, when Starbucks Coffee first entered China, they were using a franchise model. They say that, okay, so well, why should I, invest in building the coffee shop? It costs a lot of money. So let's let the Chinese local investor give them the opportunity to, invest, and they take the risk. So after a while, Starbucks Coffee realized that, these people made a lot of money. So now we also made a lot of money in China. We find it is not that risky. It's actually always a guaranteed success. So then they shift into an investment model, which is building their own store in China. So you can see that you can walk up the chain here as you grow your businesses. So that's a franchise model. Next one, licensing model, which is more about a sort of a technology transfer. So for instance, in Netherlands, there's something called a Voice of Holland. They license the show to China in Zhejiang TV station. So they actually pay right now quite few million, like about 20 million, US dollars as a license fee, from Netherlands. So even in entertainment industry, which is not so highly technology driven, they're able to do the sort of take the transfer of the rights. So that is very big and to consider. China can pay for a license fee. For instance, Apple get license fee from Huawei, and Huawei also get license fee from Apple. So this is very common in China to do as well. And next one, let's talk about the investment, channel. So you can set up your rep office in China, have a few people, maybe 2 or 3 or 5. And in the past, some of the rep office from the foreign companies started to really sell product. So as a result, the Chinese government decided that, okay, we're going to tax you as a rep office 10% of your total expense. So that's how China is changing and doing that. And you can also, next one, please. And so you can set up a rep office. It's a liaison office. You can go also with a partnership model. Next one, please. Partnership is the sense of you are working with someone, but the important thing here is you need to find a partner that's mutually exclusive and also mutually dependent. This is a two important key. Mutually exclusive. You should not hire someone who became your competitor. You should have someone as your partner that they cannot do what you do and you cannot do what they do. Okay? So you need each other desperately, and then you are not going to create a competition here. So that is very important here for the partnership, development in China. Next one, wholly owned foreign entity. This wholly owned foreign entity is talking about you set up your own company, you are 100% shareholder in China. Now, China do allow that now, so don't worry about that. This is perfectly legal, and the Chinese government encourage you to do that. And next one, please. So, for instance, next one will be the joint venture. So the joint venture is you create an equal joint venture and to work together. For instance, Shanghai GM, General Motors. It was a joint venture between the GM in America and a Chinese car maker in Shanghai. So they created what does the JV do? The Chinese are responsible for sales and local adaptation and production. And GM in America are responsible in terms of R&D, for that. So you can see there's a different sort of rules involved into the joint venture. So next one, after joint venture, you would go to the business model strategy. So slide 48. So I would like to walk you through how you enter China. You assess the market, you assess your competition, you choose entry option, you choose business model, and then you implement. Next one, please. Next one, please. And next one further. 50, slides 50. So step 4, create effective marketing strategy. You need to optimize the use of social media and big data. WeChat, Weibo, KOL. Those are the two very important ways for you to consider. So China now, majority of consumers are using WeChat. A lot of them also use Weibo. And Chinese KOL is very powerful because Chinese consumer rely on the key opinion leaders in terms of their shopping behavior. So the key KOL doesn't necessarily need to be very big KOL covering everything. They could be just covering one small segment. But then you have a lot of KOL will cover the entire market. Those KOL have far more influence than the celebrity, than the TV media, than anything else, because those KOL spend a lot of time to connect with their sort of fan base, the consumers. So they're very powerful and influential in their approach. Next one. Big data had been a very important sort of role in China. By combining big data with integrated marketing management strategy, marketing organization can make a substantial impact in those key areas. Customer engagement, customer retentions, and loyalty. And you can marketing optimization. By the way, China doesn't have the data protection law as strict as Europe. So that offers great opportunity for marketers to do something in China. So this is very important to leverage. You have a less regulation in China in terms of big data than in Europe. Next slide. So with all this, I'd like to present you the China Star program that we have. We're very, happy to share with you that this program will happen on May 20th to May 24th in China. Will be in Chengdu, where the giant panda is, and also Shanghai, Shenzhen, 3 cities. It's 1 week. You will visit 2 accelerators. You will be in 3 cities. You will have 4 investment pitch, large investment. Actually, you will have more. Last program we had 8, 4 large ones, but then a few small ones, and 5 company visits. Visit a lot of great companies. So we're very happy to partner with Crayfish on this program. So if you write to Crayfish at the end of this, Crayfish will have their contact, and if you write to them through them, you will get 10% discount of this program. And you can find also further information at china-star.org for all the testimonials. But do go through Crayfish and to get the discount. Otherwise, you will not be entitled to the discount for that. So we have a lot of satisfying, starters going through this program. They're enormously happy. They tell us that this program changed their life. So we want you to be part of this program and to start to change your life. And this program will be the 6th time we deliver in May 20th to 24th in Chengdu, Shanghai, and Shenzhen. Without further ado, I have just finished my presentation. I give this to Crayfish.